Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 16 of the North to South podcast. I hope that's the number we're on because I'm going to bounce get wrong one of these days. So as we're moving closer to the start of the season, we're starting to get some proper stories that we can actually talk about for the off season. For I think this weekend the championship starts, and obviously the EFL teams, and then we move on to the Premier League next week. So obviously, team that Tom follows, Arsenal, have suffered back-to-back defeats in pre-season, so we'll be talking about that because they've had a good start to pre-season. Liverpool have been very consistent and lost again, which at least they're being consistent. Port Vale are already out of the Carabao Cup, so we're going to have no fairy tale season in the cup round this year. And there's obviously some stories going about that have come out today, actually, and that involves Liverpool, Manchester City, and Amazon. And no, they aren't going to next day delivery Liverpool. So today we're going to be talking about whether Arsenal should be concerned. We'll get Tom's views on that. That might be a little bit spicy. We've also got a video from our friend James, who's weighed in onto that conversation. And we'll talk about what's going on in the world, and that's where we're going to start. But first and foremost, Tom, hello, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Craig. Yeah, I'm all right. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's had a good week and enjoying watching the start of football. The pre-season's here to get the teams in shape for the various leagues. We'll be mostly talking about the Premier League, but Craig mentioned, the Championship starts, the EFL. First round already started last weekend. Football never stops. We're going to be chatting about all things football.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, it's a Monday afternoon, so our energy levels are a little bit depleted. So we'll get straight to it. I want to start this week with a couple of stories that have been going on surrounding Manchester City and Rodri, which is probably one of the most bizarre transfer rumours. When I say bizarre, you look at Barcelona wanting to sign Rodri, and it's not it's two big teams. You can understand why Rodri wants to play for Barcelona, but we've seen the fee that's been rejected from Manchester City, and rightly so, because I tell you what, Barcelona put a bid of £38 million in. I mean, this is a Ballon d'Or winner 2 seasons ago. He's world class. Rightly so, Manchester City rejected it. And obviously, Barcelona will come back to that transfer. I suppose this is a little bit of that conversation where English players are so overpriced. I think they paid 80 million, 70 million for Gordon, who, let's be honest, he's been good. He hasn't won a Ballon d'Or. He is younger than Rodri, but then, we've seen players get better with age now in modern day football, sports scientists and all that malarkey. I mean, if Barcelona are bidding 38 million for Rodri, why isn't everybody else bidding a little bit higher? Is that a little bit of a surprise to you, Tom? Do you think the transfer will make it through? Just what are your thoughts on that development?
We're just surprising for a player as good as Rodri, especially coming out of the World Cup and the accolades that he got from the World Cup, and then a few weeks later they come in and do a signing fee like that, like a proposal fee. But it having said that, I do think that players in the Premier League, the amount of money that we've seen recently for, say, Henderson, Rodgers, these players going for well over 100 million for the signing fee, and then Tonali has gone for over 100 million, I think, What wasn't it that he got sold
Yeah.
Newcastle? It is kind of strange how the Premier League has these figures that seemingly
You look at Bruno has gone to
it's,
70 million,
you get Arsenal for like 75 million and he's 28, going on 29. I mean, I was quite pleased with that signing, but I mean, actually come to think of it, like in all the big leagues, if you think about Spain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, they wouldn't sell their sort of key players for much less than that's what money as well. So that's why it's also a bit surprising as to why Barcelona have gone for that sort of quite a cheeky low fee to get Rodri. But it might just be a tactic, like on their part to like try and get the bids going so that by the time that it gets to the winning bid, it isn't higher than what they think he's worth. So it might be a tactical thing on their part.
Yeah, and what's surprising me is, yes, Pep Guardiola has left, but the Manchester City team or sporting director are still there, so they're going to continue to buy players and deal. Their dealings are going to be very similar to previous seasons. But if you're going to think about dropping your best player, especially in that midfield, your anchor, the player who dictates play, also covers the defence. Normally, Man City would have already brought somebody in by now. But Bernardo Silva's left. Gonzalez is thinking about loaning him out to leave. If Rodri leaves, it's just very unusual. And they might not be clued up on Man City. There might be more news out there. I know they've got Anderson, but it just feels like I thought Anderson was going to go there. I'll be honest, we'll put the pod out to say Anderson might be a player like Rodwell or other players we've seen that dropped out, Calvin Phillips. But at this rate, he could be replacing Rodri, which is some big shoes to fill. So that'll be interesting. I think Manchester. I know he's only got 1 year left on his contract, but I think he's worth a lot more than 38 million. I think a team like Man City, with the money they've got, keep him. Get Maresca over his first season. It's going to be tough for any manager replacing Pep, just like Sir Alex Ferguson, Klopp, Wenger. A lot of these managers who have built a dynasty, keep Rodri, take a hit on that 38 million. It sounds crazy when you say 38 million, take a hit on it. But he'll probably give you more in that one season than 38 million will get you. So for me, I would keep him in the Premier League. Let's put it that way. We want the best players playing here. A couple of surprising ones I want to get your thoughts on. Also, Chelsea. We've seen Chelsea go from this team who buys a lot of very young players with no experience, and then all of a sudden, in pre-season, you've signed 36-year-old Jordan Henderson and 35-year-old Danny Welbeck. Or, I don't know, I mean, you tell me, Tom, what do you think?
The internet just froze for a little bit then, so I didn't hear the past few seconds of what you said.
I just want to get your thoughts on Chelsea's change in transfer dealings this summer by bringing in two players with a combined age of over 70 years old, considering they've been buying players who, are very young. What do you think their thinking is behind this?
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that Welbeck and Henderson cost very much. I'm just sort of thinking, I mean, well, it could be for a bit of experience, but I mean, I must admit that I was surprised that they went for them two players. It does seem a bit of an odd thing to do when they've been splashing the cash recently, and then they get those two. I mean, I don't know how much they were, but like I just assume that they can't be more than 30 million for like both of them, can they?
I mean, even I think that's a little bit hard.
Or less than 30 million, even for like Henderson and Welbeck. I mean, they're both at the end of their sort of careers, like in professional football sort of age. I think
5 million.
five,
Danny Welbeck was 5
like
million.
both.
Danny Welbeck was 5 million, and this was 3.
Okay, well, yeah. So, it did seem a little bit odd. Welbeck has been a brilliant player, though, hasn't he? And so is Henderson. I'm not too sure if they brought them in because of the experience. Maybe they have, but I don't know if they'll be playing a lot like in the first team when they've got a lot of other players in their squad already. So it does seem a little bit like an odd two signings that they've made there.
I think Chelsea and strikers are very. They haven't had a decent strike. Let's forget about João Pedro because he can play anywhere. But I'm talking like an out and out goal poaching striker. And I guess Nicholas Jackson went on loan to Bayern last year. He's back now. Rory Delap. Is it Rory? No, Liam Delap. Sorry, Rory was his dad who played for Stoke. Liam Delap hasn't really materialised, does he? I know he's a young player, but I think, I don't think he's been materialised. And I think Welbeck's come in. It's very surprising. The obvious answer is going to be to have experience, to know where the ball lands. Maybe that's the way Xavi's going to play. I don't know. It's very surprising. I mean, if you're Xabi Alonso, you've gone from having a pick of Mbappe, Junior, and Hendrick, and all the other players that Real Madrid have got to being treated to Welbeck, Delap, and Nicholas Jackson. I mean, if that isn't a downgrade, I don't know what is. But he could have been at Liverpool with one centre back. So I mean, I suppose he has upgraded. So that's Chelsea. And then before we cut off to the boring Arsenal Liverpool stuff, the boring 75 millions and the boring exciting Amazon deal that might be coming. Let's just quickly go. Let's give Port Vale a little bit of a spotlight. Maybe not the spotlight they wanted, or I would like to give them. But they put up a test last Friday in the opening professional game, one of the opening professional games of the season, versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Unfortunately, they lost 3-0. It could have been a different game. I'm not saying they would have won, but it could have been a different game. Port Vale hit the bar very early on. But I think, as we were speaking about just before we started recording this episode, it's very evident that parachute money from the Premier League is on another level. I mean, Wolves looked really, really good. And I know they're a championship team, but I watched them thinking, you can bring on Raul Jimenez, who literally Jimenez, sorry.
Yeah.
His last game was playing against England in the World Cup.
Yeah.
They've got all these stars around them. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I suppose Port Vale go into this weekend playing Oldham. It's a sold-out away end. So hopefully we get something out of that. Hopefully we have a good season. I just worry with Port Vale is where the goal is going to come from. I don't want to berate any players so early on. If it was that easy, why haven't I done it? That old argument. But I just can't see where the goals are coming from for Port Vale if they're going to play similar to what they played on Friday. They have brought a couple of strikers in. I suppose now it's just about getting the system that works for them. So that'll be interesting. Before we... there's nothing I can really ask Tom about that, because I'd probably say, Tom, did you watch the game? He'd probably say, nah. No, I didn't, mate. No, he didn't. Okay. That's fine. So we see where that's going to go. But yeah, big season. Port Vale went down last season. Haven't really kept consistency, staying in League One, dropping between League Two since 2022 now. So big season, big sponsorship deal with Robbie Williams this year. So hopefully, we get a top flight finish this season. We want to go back up. We should be one of the better teams. We brought in some good players, and there's no excuse really. It's just about putting that faith in the manager and the players across there. So let's go on to something Tom won't fall asleep on. Let's talk about Arsenal. Yay, Arsenal!
Yeah, well, there's not much. Well, I mean, there is some positive news with Arsenal. The main thing is that we did actually get over the line with Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle, so we signed him. So that's good for our midfield. I think it should be really, really good to have that extra man in midfield for the Premier League games, especially seeing as Rice was our best player in midfield last season, I would say, although Zubimendi was very, very good as well as Rice, but he just dropped off towards the end. So it'd be great for the sort of squad rotation and being able to rest key players, and also trying to keep that consistent level up during the Premier League games. Now, the negatives have been that the past two pre-season games we've lost. We spoke about pre-season last week, didn't we? About it being a good way of sort of looking at tactics, trying to warm up the legs, giving players who haven't played much in the summer some more time. So there has been an awful lot of rotation in the squad. Both games had something like 10 or 11 subs in the whole game. So an awful lot of rotation, which is what preseason is about. I will have to say, though, that Arsenal have played disappointingly in the two games, been a bit slow going up front, and I mean, especially in the Real Betis game, some terrible mistakes that led to those two goals, or 3 goals. I think the main two were Kepa was just awful in goal. And Havertz, actually, strangely enough, he did an awful pass where they were, which was in Arsenal's defence, and then their player got through and scored straight away. So there were 2 really poor mistakes in that game. I think played better against Dortmund on the weekend, but we still lost that 3-2.
Played better, but we still lost.
But still lost. I think, like it's not too concerning though in terms of the actual Premier League games. I think pre-season are to just give the players that extra sort of minutes to give players who haven't played more minutes. As we know, there have been some sort of fairly key players who sort of haven't been involved in any of the pre-season games. So mostly the players who were in the World Cup for England, so Saka, Eze, Rice hasn't been in to like any of the preseason games. I'm going to the next preseason game actually against Como on Wednesday night at 7:30, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. And I expect that Bruno Guimaraes that he'll be in the squad for that game, so that would be really nice to see him as part of the actual Arsenal squad out on the pitch.
Good team, Como. Good team.
Yes, they were managed by our old player Cesc Fabregas, aren't they? Still managed by him, aren't they? So that would be a good test again for pre-season. I think the other thing I'll say just quickly before I end is Victor Gyökeres. I think he did pretty well like in his first season last year. Again, it's only pre-season, so it's hard to sort of make any like real judgments. But he has appeared to not be kind of sharp again. In the Real Betis game, I think it was in the very first few minutes, Solis, who I think has played really well in all the preseason games, actually, set him up really nicely. And all he had to do was first time shoot it in the net. But Gyökeres took a touch and then he fluffed the sort of shot after that. So he is showing signs of not being fully at his best, I would say. But again, it's really hard to tell because like it's pre-season. I don't know if they're actually trying their hardest to go out and win. If the manager said, okay, so like it's okay to kind of the most important thing is to not get injured, isn't it? Like in preseason games. So perhaps they are just trying to manage that as well and thinking, well, like it actually doesn't count if we lose anyway. So maybe they are holding back on trying their hardest in that way because that can cause injuries, which can last the whole season. So yeah, how did Liverpool get on in their pre-season?
Before we talk about Liverpool, I just want to ask you a question that we asked our friend James, which you've got the nice job of tagging to this video, and I'll tag it to the other ones. How did you? Is there a cause of concern? Because I'm going to say it, AFC TV. I don't know if they do it for baiting their own fans. And I don't know why. I don't know why it's coming up on my social media. I don't know why. But they are really concerned, those guys are. And I feel sorry for them because I don't think it's like they've never seen a pre-season before. But I want to get your thoughts and James's thoughts on is there room for concern with the last two games, or like myself, are they just of you might think that. You might think, oh, like Gyökeres, then you made a point that even though he might be fit, he did the World Cup, he's probably had a bit of an holiday, he's probably a little bit tired, he's a bit not sharp. But is it more of, well, I want to see these players get, be ready for the season or show us that they're ready for the season? Or is it still about game fitness and just, easing themselves into play with each other, gelling and getting ready to not pick up any injuries?
I think I think it really is more about game fitness, making sure you don't get injured. The only thing is, though, is preseason games are also good for us as the football fans to actually watch the games. So you do always want to be entertained and for your team to win. So in that way, it is disappointing for any game that your favorite team lose, isn't it? So in that way, it's a shame because you want your team to win and you want them to play well. But then understanding that it is pre-season, the players have been probably told, okay, so play your best, but the most important thing is that you don't get injured. So don't try and do things to like overstretch yourself when this game doesn't count towards any trophy or like any trophy that sort of matters, league points towards the league, that sort of thing. So not too concerned, but from a fan's point of view, it was a bit upsetting that your team loses. But saying that as well, last season I think Arsenal lost 2 out of 4 of their preseason games and went on to win the league. So again, that shows that it really bears no outcome on the league, really.
Yeah, that's fair. And the biggest pre-season game you've got is next Sunday.
Yes, the Charity Shield
against Manchester City.
That should be a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose you could look at it and think, regardless of the result you've got coming up on Thursday, against Como, you want, like you say, you want to be entertained. You want to see a good match. You want to see the players play well, but you also want to make sure, even though the Charity Shield, it's a curtain raiser, really. That's it, the best way of putting it. You still want to beat Manchester City, don't you? You want to start the season well. You don't want to lose. The pride of winning is a lot more than the Shield, and that's what you don't want to do. So you want a big performance, that, don't you?
Yeah, I totally agree with that assessment of that game. Yeah, we definitely want to win that because Man City are one of the main rivals. Obviously they were second last year, so a definite rival. But they have been for quite a while as well. Sort of Arsenal being second and Man City first for quite a few seasons previously as well. So yeah, pride, and it's a good thing for confidence to sort of go and win that game and then start the league against Coventry. Yeah,
that's fair.
There, keep on winning.
Yeah, of course. So obviously we spoke about Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, Port Vale, and now it's down to Liverpool. So for Liverpool, bit of a topsy-turvy week, and I think today, of all days, has probably been the most positive day for a Liverpool fan since, I guess, the slot left. So, beginning of last week, they didn't do very well in the pre-season. Again, just testing players out. When teams are changing 11 players at half time, that is about just regaining fitness, getting some match fitness, etc. Some experience. Obviously, he played very well in the first half against Monaco, and then again, you are going to change a few players, but it was just like the absolute opposite in the second half, and they lost 3-2. Probably didn't really matter to a lot of people, but like you say, for the fans' point of view, some fans in that stadium might have been thinking, "Oh, yes, it's a pre-season game, but also we want to see a little bit more from a team that's on a rebuild, let's say, to rebuild that confidence, that kind of style of play, and just see what Iriola's got to give." But yeah, we've kind of moved on. And then until today, funny enough, today after talking Monday, the 10th of August, so whenever you see this podcast episode, they have signed, I'm not going to be able to say this name unless you can. Who is the lad from Barcelona they signed, Tom?
Oh, Araujo or something like that, is it?
Araujo, that's it.
Okay.
I've probably said that completely wrong.
Isn't it?
Which is a very surprising signing. So he's a Barcelona centre back, Barcelona's captain, and that's why it's surprising. Surprising, probably, if you don't know about his career. He is Barcelona's captain and he's come on loan to Liverpool. But as a Liverpool supporter, you're looking at this and saying, "No, man, this guy in 2023 was a power horse. He was great. He was part of a really good Barcelona team. 3 years later, he's had that many issues with injuries. And you're bringing him in now to a team that's got issues with injuries in centre-back." It's very bizarre because I don't know what the medical staff have seen. Maybe they've a bit of a Jesus criteria going on. He's healed, maybe. I don't know. But it's very bizarre from two aspects that Barcelona's captain has joined Liverpool today on loan with an option to buy, I think, for around 40 million. I think I've seen that. I'm not sure if it's right. But also for Liverpool, you're probably looking at this saying, why would we bring in a player that was very, very injury prone? I think he only played 12 games last season, something along those lines. If you are watching this, let us know in the comments what you think about that, because it's a massive signing. If you probably 3 years ago, you're looking at this guy. He's only 27. He's coming up to his probably peak of his career. He's still got a lot more to give, and I suppose that experience in the game will give Liverpool a little bit more stability at the back. Waiting on Jeremy Jacket and the owner coming back in Tom, do you know much about this guy? Are you scared? Are you trembling? Are you worried about not being able to score against Liverpool anymore? I mean, what are your thoughts on
I don't know much about. I don't
joining?
know much about him, but I can only assume that because they're loaning him to you guys, that well,
Go on, say it, and then I'll bring up the Capie argument.
no, so I know what you mean, but well, yeah, just it doesn't seem like a very sort of serious, and the fact that I haven't heard much about him kind of that also makes you think that perhaps he's not someone to sort of fear that much. But then I don't watch an awful lot of La Liga games, so I don't really have any specialist sort of comment on that, really.
This is where you get top quality podcasting, guys. I mean, this is that the MVP. Obviously, I've heard of him. I'm not just saying that, he's if he played for Barcelona, I could name 15 players in Barcelona. I'm sure you can, Tom. So he plays plays Barcelona, so he is known. But like you say, for me personally, the fact that he's come on loan says two things. One, that Barcelona probably want to offload him. Two, they probably have got sick of his injuries and thought, what, we'll give somebody else that issue for a while. And if he does come good, then, and they don't want to sign him, then move on. But Liverpool are covering the whole £350,000 salary, which again begs the question: when Liverpool didn't want to spend £250,000 on Konate, who's a lot younger. I'm not saying, he had a tough season last year. Obviously, he lost his dad, and there was a lot of personal circumstances around that with Jota as well. So he lost two people in that 1 year, which could be really tough. And I give him a little bit of stick, I'll be honest with you. But why would you not give Konate what he wanted at that young age? And he's going to keep developing, but then go with an injury-prone player and cover his whole wages. Again, cause of debate. And yeah, at least Liverpool will sign another player. I don't know if any more incomers will come in. I think they do need another left winger. There's been the talk on Barcola has been very quiet this week. There hasn't been a lot of talk on them. I think Arsenal are also looking at him as well. He's going to have offers everywhere, Barcola is. And I wouldn't, if you are a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't be putting all your money in one basket. And the massive news that's come out today, which I thought was a hoax, I still for some reason don't believe it a little bit, is so Liverpool today have confirmed that Jeff Bezos of Amazon and basically a consortium, so he isn't looking to buy the club, he's looking to buy a minority stake, and that means basically under the 49% would be a minority stake, because obviously FSG will hold the majority of that percentage. But they will be the biggest of the minority investment group. So it's looking to around 30% of the club, which will invest around 1.35 billion straight up. FSG would remain in control, but the deal is obviously not completed yet. It's only come out this morning, so it's very, very new. He's one of the world's richest individuals. I know Tom doesn't like it. I'm not saying I do like him, but I know Tom's has got a little bit of vendetta against Bezos. But for a business, let's talk that way, it's a huge commercial potential, not just for money going into the club, but global brand, very similar to what Manchester United had for the noughties, and it will strengthen the ownership structure of what the club is worth. And I suppose it raises that question about Liverpool's ambitions, but having an investor who's got this much money sitting in his, he's probably in more money than I'll ever in a lifetime. In the last half an hour we've been speaking. Tom, are you scared? Is Liverpool going to be the next Manchester City, or are they going to be a Newcastle United, like struggle to get over the financial fair play rules? Because obviously Manchester City and Chelsea had a lot of time to put money in before FFP come in. So, what do you think? You scared we're going to get Vinny Jr.?
Well, I'm not sure why you think I've got like some sort of a vendetta against.
No, I don't think you got that. But we spoke in the past for Warriors and.
But I am, well, yeah. I mean, in general, I am against any person basically being allowed to earn that much amount of money. I mean, same thing with football players' wages and all that stuff. I just think it's wrong that people, that sort of individuals can sort of make that amount of money. Again, I wouldn't be too worried, although interesting question. I've just thought about Man City and how powerful they have been actually, though, so it could possibly be a worry that you might have another sort of Man City who can break the rules and just like pay all the biggest lawyers to actually try and stop you from getting punished for like anything that you do.
They're going to do 115. We're going to do 116.
So that could raise another sort of powerhouse in that way.
Is it positive for Liverpool? Think of it this way: if it happened to Arsenal, would you see this as a positive?
Well, it's undoubtedly positive for like Liverpool. I think, yeah. I mean, we're in today's society, especially football. More money means more greatness. I mean, not always in every club, but usually the more money you have, the higher up the table you'll be. So I think it's undoubtedly good for Liverpool. Liverpool as well. I mean, I sometimes forget that the football clubs nowadays are bigger than just football. Like, it's as you say, it's the brand. It's the millions of fans. It's people who come to the club to like go and watch the football. It's the merchandise. It's good for the city. Yeah, there's just so many things, aren't there, that sort of having a rich owner helps with in the club and local sort of business life.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I suppose we've seen it with Newcastle, where they had a lot of money going in. If anything, Newcastle were richer than Man City. But the issue was Man City were able to buy a lot of their players as in a full squad before the financial fair play rules. So each season with their commercial success, they've been able to upgrade their squad with 1 or 2 players.
Yeah.
And that's it. Because then next season they'll upgrade the next 2 players one. Whereas Newcastle come in and they had to try and do a whole squad, which was impossible because they would, if you watch the documentary, they said we need now to be making more money commercially to spend that money. So basically with FFP, for those who don't know, you can only spend what you earn. So it doesn't matter if a billionaire comes in with £1 billion. They can't put that in unless there's proof that you've earned that. And that's to stop clubs folding over. So obviously they need to prove that they can continue to be sustainable. So Newcastle, in a way, has been unfortunate because they've had to sell a lot of their best players. And they're still one of the richest clubs in the world. And that's because they've had to go about it a different way, buying up-and-coming talent, shipping off the 29-year-olds, hoping it doesn't bite them in the arse. Because as we know with modern-day football, like we discussed, 29 now with the new, with the new 25, 24. So, we'll see where that deal takes us. It might fall through. It might again be fantasy, but it's massive for Liverpool after having a real poor pre-season. Tom, anything you want to bring to the table this week? Anything you want to you've seen? Anything you want to get my thoughts on?
Well, there was one thing that I wanted to add to the discussion around pre-season games. I think for a lot of fans, what I was sort of saying was that for a lot of fans who don't have the sort of fortune of having a season ticket, it's hard for them to sort of go and see a lot of the matches that are actually in the league. So the one good thing about the pre-season games is that in general they're open to anyone who sort of joins the club sort of app or like whatever, sort of however you go and purchase the tickets. And so that's why I think it's kind of another way of trying to increase your sort of fan support is if you play well, then that will get people wanting to come back again and that sort of thing. And so it's a great opportunity to sort of invite fans who haven't got those season tickets.
Yeah, and that's very fit, for yourself as an Arsenal fan and Man City. Well, I don't think Man City have any issues, but Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United. You've really got to be very lucky to get a ticket because, like you say, a lot of these clubs have a waiting list for season tickets of 5-6 years, and that's for the people who probably tried to join up 10 years ago. So you've got to be very lucky and know someone who's probably either been able to sell a ticket or get the cup tickets. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's funny enough, Como must be doing a little tour because I've just seen them playing Liverpool on Sunday. So they're obviously playing Arsenal midweek and then playing Liverpool the weekend. So
are they?
Yeah, on the Sunday. So
yeah, they must be coming up to
so yeah, that is good. And like you say, as football and money and tickets and making it accessible for the working class person has been a massive topic over the past few years. So yeah, that's massive. Tom, I want to say thank you for. I'm making it sound like I'm the main guy for joining me, but also I do a lot of the talking. But yeah, thank you for joining this week, and I'm assuming you've enjoyed my company as well. Unless I haven't, just tell me. I'm not precious about it.
You're putting me under pressure to say something specific there, aren't you? No, but I always enjoy this, doing this and talking with you about football, and whoever listens, thank you for listening, and I hope you find it interesting and entertaining. There should be a button to click to subscribe. Please do click subscribe if you do like the sort of channel, the content, and what we say. That will really help us as well. So thank you, everyone, and I think we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, we'll see everybody next time. Enjoy the rest of the pre-season until the Championship and the EFL starts this week. And then, we'll see you next week, and then enjoy the content. Bye.
From